Okay, we're just letting everybody into the meeting. Welcome everybody to our first general meeting of the 2021-2022 school year. Although our students are back in school in person, we're going to continue these meetings remotely via Zoom. I think it makes it for nice access. So I'd like to call to order the San Mateo High School PTO general meeting. It's August 24th and it's 7:03 p.m. Welcome everyone. So our first order of business on our first meeting is actually approving our budget. So we sent out a copy of our budget to in the last email that went out. So if everybody had a chance to look at it, hopefully you were able to review it. Otherwise, we're going to put it up in the chat, or are we going to post it real quick on the share screen? And oh, there it is. It's in the chat. If you want to take a moment to look at it. The budget, we always zero it out. So it's, we don't make a profit since we are a nonprofit, just so everybody knows. And we are actually coming in under or over budget. Last year we were over budget a little bit. And we're going to come over again this year a little bit. We're expecting that we might not be getting as much funding as we did in the previous year, or as we did in the previous year because of COVID. So I also would like to remind everybody, if you have not joined our the PTO, please consider joining the PTO. You can go onto our website and click on the link, and it's $50 to be a member. And we provide the daily bulletins and meetings like this, trying to keep everybody on top of things. Okay. So could I get a motion to approve? Actually, no, we're going to vote on the budget. We have an electronic voting process. So we're going to put that poll up right now. And if everybody could just vote on the budget, if you approve.
I think you need to get a motion to approve, and then we vote.
Oh, do I have to get a motion first?
Yeah.
Do I have people that can motion? Because we're on that Zoom thing.
I move.
Okay.
And then.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the 2021-22 San Mateo High School PTO budget?
I so move.
And could I get a second? Can we get somebody to, can we say Esther?
A second.
Okay, Esther, there's Esther. Okay, so it's been moved by Anne Marie and seconded to approve the 2021-2022 San Mateo High School PTO budget. All those in favor, vote on the poll now. And we'll have the poll run for 60 seconds. Or until we get 100% voted.
We are at 100%, I believe.
We are
I'm
at 100%.
not sure if,
wow.
I'm not sure if anybody else sees this but me. Not sure what happened.
Oh, no. We're at 14
presenter?
of 24. There's 58% voted. We still have 20 seconds left.
Okay.
You got to look at the black part where it says attendees. So.
Okay, because I didn't get to vote.
No, because
okay, that's all good.
That's how the poll works. We're still working through some of the Zoom nuances. But it's unanimous. Thank you, everybody. It's unanimous. The 2021-2022 San Mateo High School PTO budget is approved. Thanks, everybody. Okay, so every year, this is an annual thing, we invite Dr. Kevin Skelly, our superintendent from the school district, to come and tell us what's going on with the school district, what's new. It used to be what's new. It seems like a lot's new because we are going into a new era of coming back to school after being away for a year. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Skelly. We will have a Q&A after. after his presentation. If he answers any of the questions that were presented, I won't be asking those again. So I'll be keeping track of that. And there will also, we will post the links so that you can ask additional questions, and I'll get to those in order of how they're submitted also. And if we can't get to everything in a timely manner, I will ask Dr. Skelly to follow up with us, and we could probably post those answers at a later date. Okay, so Dr. Skelly, to you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Sandy. I'm delighted to be here. First of all, I want to thank you and the executive board for having me come. We have a every other, well, now is it every other? Maybe it's once a month now. We have a meeting of the PTO presidents, and those of you in attendance should know that there is a special place in heaven for PTO presidents. So they might not get the reward here on earth, but it awaits them in the afterlife. I also want to thank, I know Yvonne's on the call and Adam as well, for their service in leading the schools during what is a tough time. It's not easy to be a principal or an assistant principal at any time, but right now it's particularly hard when you're sort of caught betwixt what the district does and then what families do and students and all those pieces. I want to welcome the new families who are here. You have a bunch of ninth grade families. Welcome to the district. If you're coming to your first PTO event or maybe even a parent night, I hope that you'll find your child's 4 years in high school some of the most formative and important years. I think all of us who do high school work believe that the high school years are really a special time in students' lives where they grow up, they become adults, they develop their skills, including persuasive and argumentative, but they emerge from our schools, we believe, with a sense of ethics and skills with that will serve them well in what is a increasingly changing world. We have 6 schools in the district, and they all have their character and differences and things like that. I would say that from my perspective, and sometimes Yvonne may not appreciate being right next door to the district office where the district office folks spend the most time. But I really have so enjoyed having San Mateo High School in the backyard, whether it's looking out at the fields and students doing a variety of different things or visiting music and drama and other electives. It's a special school with such a remarkable history, and we're really fortunate to have such a talented staff there and a community that really looks after it, whether it's these kinds of events or the ice cream social tomorrow night or the auction that's put on every year. So we do appreciate and think that this is a really special school. So I'm delighted to be here. Happy to answer any questions that I can. There are often sometimes questions that I don't know the answer to, but I'll try my best here. So you're muted, Sandy. You want to sort of fire away?
I knew I was muted. Sorry about that. So you're ready to go straight into the questions?
Sure, I think that's probably best, and I can weave some other comments in as we go.
Okay, so I think, and this is a question that has been repeated several times, is when will you require vaccinations for all students? And I'll tie that into what most people are saying, and that is now that the vaccine is approved by the FDA, the FDA, when will there be a requirement that all students be vaccinated?
So last year we sort of drifted away, where there was this sense among districts that we were going to be called on to make all the shots, to make all the calls on various issues. This year the state started out with saying masks inside, masks optional outside. that really took a lot of pressure off of us. And it also, frankly, we haven't had one issue that I'm aware of where a student has refused to wear a mask, or that's been an issue all year. So kudos to the kids on that. We're watching the situation closely. We haven't felt a need to do that. We are pushing vaccines. I mean, if you read my notes to parents and families, we're trying to get as many people vaccinated as possible. We will start testing unvaccinated students right after Labor Day, when we've built up our staff and all that. We tested all non-vaccinated staff. And frankly, that did lead to some people choosing to go ahead and get vaccinated. I think this is inevitable. New York State is doing this. We could have a long discussion at the district level about this, but my sense is that it's going to be a decree from the state to do that. And so, we'll watch the situation. I know some districts, Culver City, for example, has gone there. We're watching the situation, but I think we're better off right now really pushing families to take advantage of the opportunities that we have. Right now, we have about 85% of our students who are vaccinated, and about 97% of our staff vaccinated. So we're getting there. We'll get as close as we can, but I do think something's coming from the state. In terms of staff, the expectation that teachers are either vaccinated or tested every week. That starts in October, and we've already built that expectation in. So, we want kids to get vaccinated. We're pushing. I think some of it is a question of just a lot of different things. I think the FDA approval on Monday will help. And then we're having vaccination opportunities on Friday at Hillsdale and Cappuccino, and we're calling all the families that haven't been vaccinated to let them know about that opportunity this week.
Okay, one of the questions is, how do we find out the students and staff's vaccination rate at San Mateo High School specifically?
Yeah, I don't have that number off the top of my head. I know that the students was a little bit lower. I want to say it's like 76, 77. Yvonne might know in particular, but my sense among the staff, at least, is very close to 97%, like every place else. Yvonne, do you have any wisdom on that or more data?
No, I was just going to put in the chat. The last time I saw the numbers, we were about student vaccination rate was about 79%.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I just need to take a moment here. Armando, our interpreter, is here. We just located him. He's actually been in the meeting. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find him, but now we found him. So I'd like to take a moment to have our Spanish interpreter, Armando, introduce himself, and have anybody who needs Spanish interpretation move into the interpretation room. Armando?
Hi, yes. Sorry, I've been trying to, be in touch with you, but I couldn't get in. Yeah.
We're all rusty after the summer break.
I know, right? Yeah. So I should be sent into the interpreting room.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure who's going to do that for me, but for the Spanish-speaking families, I'll just say, si alguien necesita interpretación en español, a la parte posterior o abajo de la pantalla hay un globo. Si hacen clic en el globo, ahí van a ver donde le da la opción de estar en español y entonces los lleva al salón de español. So now if whoever is running the meeting, if they can, there we go. Excellent. Thank you so much. There we go. Thank you so much.
I think he's good to go now.
Sandy, you're muted.
Thank you, Anne, for taking care of that. That's Anne, our communications chair. Okay, so our next question, Dr. Skelly, is thank you to every teacher, administrator, and school employee. We are grateful for community. Question is, how will teachers accommodate students who might need to quarantine? And that ties into several questions asked here. So there's a concern that there's so many positive cases coming out, and if a student needs to quarantine for 1 to 2 weeks, how can we be assured that they won't fall behind? Is there a way to Zoom from home? Is there an option, or is there a plan moving forward to accommodate more students?
Yeah, so this is a topic we've been discussing quite a bit. Let me say, I think first of all, one of the few things that came out of the pandemic was that our teachers really embraced Canvas as an opportunity to upgrade their skills and make sure that assignments and opportunities were online, so that if students were absent, they could catch up. You know, both the state and the the state with its no sort of hybrid experience really sort of landed the ships and burned them, as they move forward in terms of the expectation around Zooming into classrooms. We haven't, frankly, figured this piece out. We've built an expectation that basically, kids would have to come to school, and that's been our big focus. And kids have, our numbers of kids taking independent study is it's a little over 1%, maybe right around 1%. So that part has worked. I guess I'd say two things. One is this is reason number 5,000 to get vaccinated, because if you have a close exposure, your chances of having to quarantine are very low. If there are cases, and we've had some, at this point, we haven't created a Zoom option, and we're counting on our teachers to support folks. If that's not happening, then I think it's a conversation for folks to have with Yvonne about how to deal with them. So far, I've heard it submitted as a potential problem, not as a problem that has arisen. But Yvonne, you may be closer to the grain and have seen this develop among kids who had COVID or had to quarantine. But I just haven't heard that as a real situation. We are working on it. We are aware of the issue, and I think the other part about it is that we've thought about it too among teachers, right? Because if a teacher has to quarantine, then does it make sense for them to Zoom into the classroom, provide instruction, and then even if you have a substitute in the classroom, why that experience for students is a lot better. So we have some pieces to work out here, and we will as things move on. So that's the best I can answer that question. Yvonne, I don't know if you have anything more to add.
No, I think we're waiting kind of for the district direction. I know some teachers have kind of come up with their own type of things, even though they haven't been asked to do it, but they certainly empathize with students, because we have told teachers to stay home if they're sick. And so the same message goes out to students. And so being able to understand what that would be like, and just being available. Luckily, tutorial is in place, and we'll be doing the draft for tutorial soon, where students can get extra help, but just being more flexible with that. I know some teachers, even though it is not required of them, and until something is decided, have turned on their Zoom, but are not teaching to the computer. They just have it on so that a student at home could hear, the lecture or hear discussions that are going on. But that has, not something that has been mandated. That is just up to an individual teacher in doing that. But like Dr. Skelly said, it's making sure teachers are keeping up with posting on Canvas, so students don't feel that they're missing out and they do stay home when they are having any symptoms or feeling sick.
Okay, so if the numbers do go up and we do have a large number of students being quarantined and teachers being quarantined, there would be some sort of plan that the district would request of the teachers to put forward. Yvonne, I know exactly what you're talking about. One of my daughter actually has one of the teachers who has told the students, if you are sick, even if you have the sniffles, just let them know, and they will run their Zoom so that the student can at least hear what's happening in class and follow along. Not necessarily be in the class, but at least hear what's happening, which I think is really important because you lose a lot of information if you're not actually in class. So it'd be great if the district does have a plan for that, because I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it would be great to be prepared because we never know, right? And then one question that has come up from just us talking is, would you mind going over exactly what the rules are? So if a student is exposed, they're not the one who tests positive, but they get an exposure notice, you've been exposed. Do they need to quarantine? At what point does an exposed student need to quarantine? Could you go over those rules?
I think the simple answer is that if you've been exposed and you're unvaccinated, and you've been, well, what we call close contact, which is 15 minutes within 6 feet of a student, of another student indoors, then if you're unvaccinated, you do have to quarantine and you can't participate in extracurricular activities. If you've been vaccinated, then the expectation is that you have to monitor your symptoms. And Yvonne, I think you have a flow chart that maybe if you want, you could share that. I think we've sent it to folks, or at least sent them a link, but it's probably worth it to post it if you can share your screen on that.
So you can see here, hopefully, let's see if I can, the different types of contact that will happen. So you can see on the screen, vaccinated close contact, if they're symptomatic, to be tested, and then what happens here. And I will find the link to this because right now it's a PDF. Not a Google PDF, but I will put it in the chat. And then if a student is unvaccinated, here's the flow chart in terms of what happens and what is going to be asked of the student. So what Dr. Skelly was mentioning, unvaccinated students, you can see there's a different set of standards that are applied if a student tests positive or negative, and then with an unvaccinated close contact negative, you can still see that it's a 14-day quarantine, and then if it's positive, it's at least 10 days and symptoms disappear. And then modified quarantine, yes, or quarantine, no. So I will post this up, and then you'll have access to it.
Thanks, Yvonne.
Is there a link on our San Mateo High School website to this?
Yvonne, you'd know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, if it's on our website yet. I don't know. Kevin, is this on the district website? I know it was shared in one of our meetings.
I'll check.
Yeah, just so everybody will know where to look for it, because I'm sure at some point somebody will want to reference that.
Yeah. I think the basic point is get vaccinated, because then
yes.
then if you have a close contact, you test and you follow your symptoms. If you don't, you're going to end up in quarantine. So
yes. Okay, our next question is, will there be spectators allowed during basketball season?
There was a little bit of a change in the policy. What I have seen is that if the attendance is below 1,000, and we certainly have below 1,000, there's not a problem having masked spectators at events. So we're hoping that that happens. We're hoping that we can offer those experiences for students. Last year's basketball games were fun, but there's nothing like having kids have a chance on a Friday night to go and do things. So at this point, yes. Also, volleyball is right now, and volleyball is a wonderful sport to watch, and I hope that that we have some students who show up for those activities as well. That's really our only indoor activity. The other opportunities are all outside, and there are no restrictions there.
So a certain number of students can come into the volleyball game to watch, spectators.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know that you've ever had 1,000 students at a volleyball game, but we don't generally in any of our schools see contests that have huge numbers. So we think we're fine.
Okay. So traffic has been a nightmare around San Mateo High School in the mornings due to the new 8:30 start time, and the elementary school across the street starts at 8:30 also. Any possibility that we can switch back to our old 8 a.m. start time?
Yeah. Well, we did something almost miraculous this year, which is bring 6 schools to a common bell schedule, which I've been in a lot of districts and I've never seen 2 schools with the same bell schedule. This has allowed for lots of opportunities for teachers, say fine arts or music teachers, to collaborate across the district when we have common prep times and the like, and then with the addition of Zoom. The state is going to an 8:30 start time next year. That's going to be a requirement for high schools. So that's just so it's going to happen. So that's why we made the move this year to 8:30. If it's any consolation to folks who would rather have 8 o'clock, there are other districts that have gone to 9, which I think is really late. And I know this was an issue when we first started talking about the possibility of this with the Foster City residents. I think part of the issue is that some more family, and I haven't checked on this, but I last I checked, sales of bus passes, and Yvonne may know the numbers, are down this year compared to other years, which leads more people to drive. I did see this question in the chat, and I reached out to Drew Corbett, who is the city manager, and he and I are going to have a conversation about traffic and issues around the campus around walking safety. I typically ride my bike to work if I don't have to travel to other schools, and the traffic is bad. Yeah, Yvonne, I asked you a question maybe a week and a half ago about whether or not it was worse this year than other years, and so I don't know the answer to that. So it's always a challenge here. I would say carpool or get a bus pass. Our buses are safe and well ventilated and all those good things. And it lowers the stress level. When you ride your bike by, you are privy to how students depart from their parents. And it's not always, a kiss and a hug. Both parties are scrambling, one to get to work and one to get to school. And so, you can often save yourself a lot of hassle if you take the bus or you take the after school bus that goes back to Foster City at about 6:30 after practices are done. So that's a plug there. Yvonne, I don't know if you have other things to add to those comments.
No, it was brought up in like a parent meeting, especially the exiting of cars at the end of the day and probably after drop off from the Delaware next to the PAC. So I have to look into what it would mean, like to do a right turn only or kind of create some barrier that prevents people from going left and it forces them to go right. Would help, I think, the traffic flow. And so I just have to get in touch with somebody from the city to see what it would take and whether or not, if we consider it, is that what the community wants?
You mean to
Yeah.
enforce the right turn only, right? Because
Correct.
I'm pretty sure it's always been a right turn only.
Yes, it has, but the sign is pretty far back,
Oh.
on the campus, and people don't necessarily see it when they're edging out to, do that right turn. They've already passed the sign, and if it's not right in front of them,
Yeah.
they'll go left.
Okay.
The other thing is I will make contact with Dr. Ochoa, the new San Mateo Foster City superintendent, about the start time at College Park. Maybe they can move earlier.
Okay. And is there any way to work with the city of San Mateo to improve the safety around there? There's also people saying that they're concerned about close calls of people getting hit. I don't know what the city can do to make some improvements in the area.
Yeah, we're going to meet very shortly on this. So he and I have exchanged 2 or 3 emails just about who should be in the conversation from both sides. So we'll update folks, and somebody from the San Mateo High School admin team will be involved.
Great. Okay, so if it rains, where will students eat lunch if it rains? Can you set up tents outside so they will not have to unmask indoors to eat? Is there a plan for the weather?
Well, so there isn't a plan yet, but we know there needs to be a plan. And if we hope that it starts raining, but not, well, I'd love it for us to get a weekend deluge. That would be absolutely heaven sent in more ways than one. But we, typically it starts raining in November. We'll certainly have a plan by then to deal with it. Hopefully it starts raining in November. We know it's an issue. Hopefully health conditions will be better. Right now, we've got everybody in the district eating outside. There's a sea of humanity. If you think San Mateo is crowded, it's not as crowded as other schools that don't have sort of the architecture that San Mateo has. And it's been sort of good to see in terms of everybody being together, but we know we've got an issue there. And whatever solution we come up with won't be as good as being outside if it rains. So that's a challenge.
Yeah, I know the students are really enjoying being able to spend time outside, eating lunch together and talking to each other.
Yeah.
It's great. So this will lead into our next question. You're hoping for rain because we have this question. Can the district clarify or form a policy and process for defining when air pollution levels are too high for outdoor activities or athletics and alerting parents as to when this occurs? Right now, it seems that decisions are not made consistently and there's no way for parents to keep an eye on air pollution levels to understand the likelihood of cancellations.
Yeah, we have a board policy on this, and let's see, maybe Anne, you could look for it. I know that we spent quite a bit of time a few years ago when this came up. This is another big challenge for us. So far, we've been unbelievably blessed this year, I think, with the weather in terms of it not being too hot and the air quality being really good given the number of fires that we've had this year. I think we're aware of the challenge that this could present, and we're working on it. I'd be surprised unless a coach has some particular reason. We have pretty good guidelines about this. After 150, we certainly don't compete. In the past, we've canceled games, and many times those decisions are made at a league level. But I just don't have that right in front of me, and I meant to get it because I saw the question when you sent it to me, Sandy.
Okay. Last spring, you said the district would offer an in-school ACT for juniors and seniors this year. What is the status of that?
Yeah, I don't remember saying that, but we don't offer, I don't think, in the district on the weekends, the ACT. let me check on the ACT. I don't frankly know everything that families did last year on the ACT. We gave the SAT. We were one of the few districts that did that both in the fall and in the spring. We want to give students as many opportunities to shine in terms of tests that we can. My understanding is that we're back in the SAT business on Saturdays. But I just don't know what we've done in the ACT realm, and I don't know how hard it is to get an ACT opportunity out there. At one point, I think they were offering the ACT in hotels and places like that. If families do have other opportunities to take it, I'd rather they took those advantages, and we didn't offer that. As people know, the SAT and the ACT are private businesses. We're not, we don't have a responsibility to do it. Last year, with everything that was going on, we felt it really important to offer the SAT for our students, even though all over the place, people were, colleges were saying you don't need it. But I felt strongly, and the board agreed that, if a kid has a chance to show what they know and differentiate themselves in an environment where there are fewer opportunities to differentiate themselves, that we should offer that. I need to know more about the ACT. But if families aren't able to get that, we're certainly committed to offering a fall opportunity for the SAT that at a minimum to give folks. But I haven't heard that rise up to be a problem. And then in terms of the ACT, I just don't know. But if somehow kids need to have the opportunity to take a standardized test that will give them an opportunity to show what they know.
Okay. So there is an SAT offering this November. I think it's October, but it's already full at San Mateo High School. So there will be more being posted probably.
Sandy, I haven't been keeping up with that. I don't know. Have families been going to other communities to do this, or what's going on?
I know that San Mateo High School filled up pretty quickly. Me personally, I'm taking my daughter to Sacramento to take her test in November because everything's just full up until March. And I think March is full now too. It's really hard to get into the SAT tests. And as far as the ACT history, I know my oldest took the ACT and she took it at Carlmont because we did not offer it in our district. But I believe that there was a letter that went out last year that mentioned that we might be doing the ACT here in our district.
Yeah.
That's what I think that question was referencing.
Yeah.
So.
No, I don't remember making that commitment, but I'll check. And if somebody has that, let me know.
Yeah, I will. I'll follow up for you.
And then in terms of the of offerings at our school, I know that fewer and fewer schools are offering the SAT. It's harder to get proctors and folks like that. And if you're a parent, you can't proctor. We ran into that issue last year. So it's a challenge for families going forward. And I feel like we should do something to help them. What's the limit of what a parent should do? I don't think we should have people flying to other states to do it. Which really presents an opportunity gap. Sacramento seems pretty darn far. I don't know if there was anything closer, Sandy, or that's just where you thought about
the dates and everything. And Napa, there was one in Napa, but the date didn't work for us, and so that's why we ended up at Sacramento. But that was really the closest we could get, Napa and Sacramento. So. So it's out there. It's if anybody wants to sign up for the SAT now for this year, it's very difficult to get into a test.
Let me see let me try to learn some more about that.
Thank you, Dr. Skelly. Well, we have another CB testing question here. We heard the district will be offering the PSAT on Saturday only. What about students that have to work on Saturdays? How is this equitable?
So we went around and around on whether to offer the SAT on the Wednesday date, which is October 13th, or the Saturday, and we landed on the Saturday after lots of discussion, because we were thoughtful about how much learning loss happened last year. That we would, that there was so much loss last year in terms of the opportunities for kids to learn. The day in the past when we were in normal times was sophomores and juniors took the SAT, seniors sort of filled in their day, and then juniors or freshmen sort of had some other, sort of opportunities that weren't particularly productive. A Wednesday, given where our bell schedule was, wasn't a big part of it. And then the other issue, frankly, is that a lot of teachers and other educators are down on the PSAT and the SAT in terms of giving that test. If a family, I noticed there was another question in there about somebody who had to attend a wedding on that Saturday or something like that. If there are people who can't make that PSAT date, excuse me, then I think they should, we'll send something out fairly soon. There are schools, districts that are offering the PSAT during the week, and we can make arrangements, I think, to work with those districts, Sequoia and Palo Alto being two, or some other, I'm not anticipating a whole bunch of people who can't do that and want to do that. I don't think our signups right now are, they're in the 300 or 400s right now. Last numbers I saw. But if there are people for whom it's a hardship to do it on Saturday, we'll try to send something out and to get an opportunity to sit for an exam at another school on that date.
Oh, so that might actually be a possibility for some of the families that do want to take the test.
Yeah,
they have a conflict on that Saturday.
Yeah, why don't they email me directly right now if there are people on the call who are in that situation? I know you got a question from it. I don't know if that person.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Then we would go. Then I could start talking to colleagues at other schools and staff members who do testing that I know, both in Palo Alto.
Could we make that an announcement? Because I don't know how to reach exactly who they are. If we could make it an announcement that if there is a conflict for that Saturday PSAT, there could be an option to take it Wednesday at one of the other school locations. And then people would have the opportunity to see that themselves, because I can't reach out to the entire.
Yeah. We'll do something.
In a blast. I would feel better if you did that.
Yeah, I will. I'm just talking about the individual who asked the question.
Yeah, who asked that question specifically, that would be great. And you were saying the teachers don't exactly support the PSAT and SATs.
They certainly don't like giving up. It varies. I mean, some people are really, really opposed. Others are sort of roll their eyes when we do it. Others are, upset that they lose instructional time with students.
Yeah, I totally get that. I have never been a big fan of the standardized test, but having kids going to college, you're really binded by what the colleges want. So it almost feels like we have to still support that system until it's gone. Unfortunately, I would love to see it go, to be honest. I don't like it, but with my kid going to college and the schools are asking for SAT scores, I can't say, no, we don't believe in testing. So if we could find a way to continue to support them, regardless of the fact that we don't exactly support the college board's business style.
Yeah,
it's a business.
I mean, this was a long conversation among staff members, and we have everybody, but where I ended up landing last year on the SAT was, hey, what would you want for your kid? And given what we've all been through, there are families who choose not to take the SAT and there are families who did. And, that's just their choice. But it's our job to give our kids every opportunity we can.
Every opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Skelly. Okay, now our next question is a COVID safety question. At San Mateo High School, PE2 swim unit starts the week of August 23rd, 2021. Although we are very happy that students are back to full in-person learning, I do not think that it is appropriate to force students to attend swim lessons at this time, since students are unable to wear masks when swimming. With the spread of breakthrough variants, even vaccinated students have risks of being seriously infected. I believe that schools should at least provide students and families whether or not to attend swim unit at this time and offer alternatives.
So Yvonne, I'm pretty sure we backed out of offering or having swim now. There was another reason for that, which was that there's been a shortage of chlorine and mercuric acid, some of the other pieces that do that. And we felt like if we drop, 4,000 kids in pools, that's going to make, you're going to need more chlorine and the like. So at this point, we have not, I don't think we're off. I don't think any school is having swim. We are playing water polo. Those kids are, they're more in their faces certainly than anybody swimming. I guess it's still an outdoor activity, and chlorine the virus doesn't do well with chlorine, but be that as it may, it is postponed, as Yvonne said. So sometimes things work out.
Yeah, it's crazy to have a chlorine shortage. I wouldn't have ever thought we could have a chlorine shortage, but I'm glad we're supporting our athletics. I also want to remind everybody that if you want to submit any additional questions, go into the chat in the YouTube or the Zoom and submit your questions to the link that is posted there. Our next question is regarding Chromebooks. Why are our students required to use the Chromebook? My student is struggling with how slow the device is and would prefer to use their own personal computer. Please allow our students to bring in their laptops if they prefer. There's another question that's connected with this. Parent was saying that they bought their student a laptop for high school, a brand new laptop, and they had no idea that they were going to be required to use the Chromebook, and they would have liked to have had more notice that they were going to be required to use the Chromebook. So what's going on with the Chromebooks?
So Yvonne, I'm going to let you take this call. As I've traveled the district, teachers have varying attitudes towards this, and some are happy to have kids use their own laptop. Others, for some, I think there's some security reasons in terms of testing and the like that they want to have kids use the Chromebook. But I saw this question, and I'm going to have to call for a lifeline here from you, Yvonne, and you can weigh in on this one.
We're at the last principals meeting, the district did invest a lot of money in Chromebooks and making sure that we were one-to-one for equity reasons and providing all students with a similar device. And so at San Mateo, we are fortunate to have enough devices to give every student a Chromebook. Some are older models than others. However, I haven't gotten any feedback about Chromebooks running slowly. The only complaint that I have heard is keeping a charge throughout the day. For students in computer science, a Chromebook doesn't work, and we don't have enough laptops, or the district hasn't purchased the laptops to cover the computer science classes. And so students in computer science have been using their own devices and then using the Chromebook in other classes to allow, just like Kevin said, some security things in terms of unlocking and locking assessments, as well as just, having something that, is similar to other students. Teachers are familiar with the use of the Chromebook. And so if a student were to bring their own device and is struggling with it, we would not be providing technology support for a home device, but with a Chromebook, if there is anything, a student having issue with it, it dies, all of a sudden you get the black screen of death, we would immediate issue another Chromebook to the students so that they wouldn't lose any instructional time. I haven't heard complaints otherwise besides the computer science issue. And we have Chromebooks, we have laptops, excuse me, for our digital photo students. So we understand that, the software used in that class does not run on a Chromebook. And so the district has provided district issued devices to accommodate those students in some specialized classes. So we would still like to have all students use a district issued device.
So let me just add two things. One is remind your student to charge when they're at home. We do have some, and frankly, I don't know. I know some teachers are getting used to Xeroxing again, so I don't know how many teachers are using Chromebooks all day so that they would run out of a charge. But we are going to upgrade our laptops soon, and there is a run on Chromebooks, so it's harder to buy and they're more expensive. But it is our intention to replace our oldest models within the next couple of months.
Thank you. New York City just mandated that all of its high school athletes be vaccinated. Will you consider doing the same in our district?
Yeah, we're considering it. I mean, to me, obviously playing sports is a privilege. It's an extracurricular. I'm interested in it. I'm more interested in getting kids to want to do that and making that the issue. At another school, we had a outbreak on the football team, and some kids who weren't vaccinated under the protocols couldn't play, and they immediately, even though they were close contacts and couldn't play, they immediately made the decision to vaccinate. So we're considering it. I'm sort of hoping that the state plays that hand for us, but I'm more real. And I don't know. I think I'm more interested in it when we hit basketball in the winter season. Because then I think you're really, or wrestling and basketball, where our indoor sports, where we, I would love to see, I'm not sure it's going to happen, but, watching kids play basketball with masks, was just sort of really tough because it's, it's a sport, you exert yourself and you do a lot of running and, you're having a hard time breathing, and then kids aren't, and then administrators are like, put your masks on. It was just a really not fun last fall. So, and then even just practicing too. So we're talking about it. We haven't made any decision yet, but we're looking around for that.
I'm going to keep with the athletics because we have one more. Are they going to allow the snack shack to be open during football games? Will they be allowed to grill and serve hamburgers and hot dogs?
That's an Yvonne question if ever there was one.
I want hamburgers and hot dogs.
I believe we were given the okay since it is outdoors. And so people would be allowed to enjoy athletics concessions outdoors at football games.
I have to say that I'm really looking forward to Friday nights this year. By the way, one of the things that we do in the district is that we make the football games free for all kids, which sort of makes it harder for Yvonne, but it does allow for kids to come and watch the game and not all hang around outside by the district office over the fences if they can't afford to come. And we do hope you'll come out for homecoming and Now, Yvonne, are you hosting the Little Big game this year? I can't remember whose turn it is.
Yes, believe it is supposed to be at San Mateo this year.
All right. This is the year too.
Great. Yep. Families, get your PAL stickers. It's a great thing to do on a Friday night. Go to the high school football games. I love it. It's fun. Okay. There does not seem to be reliable communication of COVID exposure at the schools. I heard of a senior student and a freshman mother who received emails regarding exposure during registration week, but neither I nor many other parents received anything. Can you commit to getting better communication regarding this very important matter? Perhaps some sort of dedicated page on the district site with information regarding known cases at the school. Some sort of dashboard, maybe.
I'm not familiar with the case, but I know that we faithfully inform families. We have staff who are spending all their time basically checking out cases. I'm not sure why. It might be some sort of configuration where one student, after a lot of investigation, was found to be a close contact and others weren't. So I just don't know that case. I'd have to know the details of it. And I'd be happy to go over it with Sarah Devaney, who does these things. But we've been very faithful about letting anybody who's in close contact know. And then if the contact is more distant, there's other messages that we send out. If, for example, let's suppose that we have a custodian who has an exposure, then we may to staff send something that says, "Hey, there was a case at Burlingame. If you haven't been contacted, you were not a close contact based on our research." I don't think we do that with families, send out that same kind of thing, but there's no reason why we couldn't do that.
How does the school determine exactly if your child's been exposed? Is it because they were all in the same classroom together?
So our teachers,
all like the entire freshman class is told.
Right. So basically what happens is if you have been within 15 for 15 minutes masked in an indoor setting, based on the class seating charts and other pieces like that, we alert those families, and then we tell them, hey, without going into the name of the student, we say, hey, you are a close contact. We know that we have data that you've been vaccinated. Please monitor your symptoms. Or if you're unvaccinated, hey, you gotta, we're sorry, but you're gonna have to quarantine.
Okay. Are they doing regular surveillance COVID testing of the staff? And what about students? Is there regular COVID testing?
Not yet. We're ramping up. We're hiring additional health techs. If anybody on the call is interested in being a health tech, you don't have to have a lot of training. We'll train you up on this. It's a great way to spend time on the campus, and we could use you. We, as I mentioned, we started. The state has an expectation that unvaccinated staff are tested starting in October. We're already testing the unvaccinated staff. After Labor Day, we'll start testing unvaccinated students, and then we'll move forward on those, on more and more testing. I know that there's talk of the elementary district doing what's called pooled testing starting after Labor Day. We'll be watching that situation closely as they go forward.
Okay. We're down to the last two questions. So one, we're circling back to Chromebooks. Who can we send a complaint to regarding the slowness of the Chromebooks? Would prefer to use our own systems. So I guess maybe if somebody has a particularly slow Chromebook compared to their counterparts, could there be like just a bad Chromebook out there? Who would we reach out to?
Yvonne,
Most likely on our school site, going to our library and seeing our library technician. She has done all of the checkouts of Chromebooks, and then she can do some troubleshooting with our tech specialist to see if it is an issue with the Chromebook. Like I said, I haven't gotten complaints, or teachers are usually the ones that voice the complaints, like in class when programs or just booting up the computer are slow. We did have a district-wide internet connection issue this morning. And so if it was from this morning, like pretty much everything was down for, I don't know if it was about an hour or so, or maybe a little bit longer. But if it's a district issued one, she can bring it to the library, and then the technician can check out another one while they do a diagnostic on the Chromebook.
Okay, thank you. And then the last kind of group question is about vaccinations again. What are the specific objections to vaccination among the non-vaccinated? Is the district targeting these individuals with messages, targeted messages, as opposed to simply suggesting a vaccination? Are we going to have more targeted ways to reach the community that's not vaccinated? And also, what metrics would eliminate the need for surveillance testing?
I think if we get the caseload way down, then, I think then you're, we tested all of our staff, our, 50 staff yesterday, no positive cases. I mean, if we get down to, a negligible number like we were this summer, then I think the need for surveillance testing goes away. These things have gone in waves so far, so we'll see. I will say, it just takes an enormous amount of time to test and validate, and then also whenever there are cases, tracking down the cases and figuring out who should get contacted is really another big issue that we do. So we talked about a lot of since you had, I think this is the last question, Sandy. I want to end on sort of a high note. I can't tell you how great it is to have kids back. This Zoom experience that we had was, we all sort of did our best, but there is, and I know I speak for Yvonne too, there is nothing like seeing 1,500 kids enjoying each other's company, laughing, smiling, spending time with each other. It's just been, it's like a lot of things that when you don't have them and then you get them back, you appreciate them more. And that's certainly been the case for the first few weeks of school here.
I agree. I think our students are just delighted to be back in person, seeing their friends face to face, being able to enjoy lunch outdoors with their classmates. And it would be great when we're back 100% and everybody feels safe. Thank you, Yvonne, for joining us this evening. Thank you, Dr. Skelly, for joining us again for our Q&A. We really appreciate all the information you can provide for us and all the help that you've offered us tonight also. And maybe we could get some targeted communication out there to encourage people to get vaccinated.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, we're going to call them all this week, and hopefully we'll get a large number. We're doing the test. We had some kids vaccinated today at San Mateo. We're going to make a big push at Peninsula, and then it's going to be available on Friday at Hillsdale and Cappuccino. So I put my email address in the summary there, and if anybody has any issues, they can certainly send me an email.
Thank you, Dr. Skelly, and thank you so much for always making yourself available to us and the community. Looking forward to the school year.
All right.